turn to Section 1. Section 1. You will hear a man phoning to inquire about hotel information. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Good afternoon. You're through to reception at the Island Hotel in Crete. How may I help you today?
Yes, hello there. I'm hoping to book a double room for my wife and myself for about 2 weeks, from the 25th of April of this year. Firstly, could you tell me whether it's particularly hot during this time?
Yes, of course, sir. During late April and early May, the daytime temperature shouldn't exceed 19 degrees Celsius. But the weather has been rather erratic and difficult to predict in recent years, so I am unable to say for certain.
Okay, that sounds good. My wife doesn't like going outside when it's very hot. I haven't booked flights yet, but I must say that I'm unfamiliar with Crete and its transport system. Does the hotel provide an airport shuttle service?
Yes, sir. We provide a complimentary airport pickup service for all our guests. It takes about 40 minutes to get here from the airport, but it's at least 60 minutes at rush hours. And you will be provided with a fully air-conditioned shuttle bus.
Okay, excellent. In that case, do you have any rooms available for the dates I gave you?
I shall have a look on the system now for you, sir. Bear with me just a moment. Yes, sir. I can see now that we have several rooms available. Would you prefer a garden view or a sea view?
Well, ideally I would like a sea view room with a balcony. But of course that depends on the difference in price.
Not to worry, sir. All of our standard double rooms have ensuite facilities and a balcony. If you would like one of our sea view rooms, there is a premium of €60 per night.
Okay, so could you tell me the total nightly rate for a standard double room with a sea view?
Yes, of course, sir. For the spring months, our rate is €216 per night. For 14 nights altogether, this will come to €3,024.
Perfect. I also read on your website that the hotel has gym and spa facilities. Are there any other facilities on offer?
Yes, we have a large outdoor infinity pool overlooking the ocean, with luxury sunbeds and a poolside bar. We also have 3 full-size tennis courts, where we run a popular doubles tournament, with the winner receiving 2 all-inclusive spa day vouchers.
Goodness, I shall have to brush up on my tennis skills.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
Are there any other activities organised by the hotel that we can partake in? It's just that it's our wedding anniversary on the 30th of June, and I would like to provide my wife with a perfect romantic getaway.
I can assure you, sir, that your wife won't be disappointed. Ours is a 5-star resort, which is renowned for its luxury and beauty. In terms of activities, the hotel provides thrice-weekly entertainment. On Tuesdays, guests will take a minibus and partake in learning to cook succulent fish dishes with our Michelin-starred chef Enrique. The class will take place in a beautiful valley deep in the Cretan hills, where guests will be treated to an intimate piano performance by our in-house concert pianist Pedro. On Wednesdays, a select number of guests will be fortunate enough to explore the mountains by helicopter, before being transported to a tropical Cretan garden by shuttle bus. Finally, on Thursdays, after a fancy dinner, we provide a spectacular fireworks display, which guests can view from the comfort of a cable car.
Oh, wow. That all sounds absolutely wonderful. I shall book the room now, and then I need to look at flights so as not to become extortionate. Would you like to take my details now or later?
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to Part 2. Part 2.
You will hear the head teacher of an English primary school talking about the school to a group of parents and visitors. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Good morning, everyone. And as the head teacher of Cranley Hill Primary School, I'm very happy to welcome you to our open day. Today, the school is open not just to parents of our pupils, but also to anyone else interested in seeing the school. I'll start by telling you about the school, and after that, you can walk round and see it for yourselves. We take most of our pupils from the two nearby villages of Seabourne and Millthorpe. These were once coal mining villages. There have been coal mines here since the 1830s. When the school was originally established, way back in 1899, almost every child's father worked in the mines. However, the coal mines were closed in 1983, and many people left the area as a result. Nowadays, most of the remaining inhabitants tend to commute to work in the city rather than working locally. At present, the number of students on our rolls is just 90, compared to almost 200 in 1985, due to the decline in the population of the mining villages. And the staff see this as a big bonus because we know each student personally. The school is very involved in the local community, and we are especially proud of our status as Great Britain's first school to be entirely powered by wind energy. This project began several years ago when it was decided that a wind power turbine should be installed in the school field. This now supplies the school with all the electricity we need, and there is also power left over for the villages nearby. The opposite situation to that in the past, when it was the villages which supplied the school with power in the form of coal from the mines. The project has been of enormous benefit to the school in other ways as well. It has allowed exciting learning opportunities about electricity generation, and the turbine has also inspired poetry, art, and even our own song. It also allows teachers to introduce global issues such as carbon dioxide emissions and global warming to the students. I feel it may be irresponsible to burden young children with worries about global issues which are insoluble, but by actually using wind power as a non-polluting, renewable source of energy, instead of using fossil fuels such as oil or gas, we are offering practical solutions to our pupils in their own environment. The school is also extremely involved in other environmental issues. In the last few years, we've developed our school field into what we now call our secret garden, which you will have a chance to explore shortly. Here, the pupils have their own organic vegetable patch, and another special feature of the school is that the vegetables grown here are used in the school kitchens for school lunches, with any extra ones being taken home by the children to share with the community.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
Now, I'd just like to tell you some of the things to look out for as you go round the school site. At present, we're standing just at the front entrance to the school facing north, and as you can see, the ground slopes up quite steeply behind the school. To our right, we have the car park, okay? And to our left, we have our sports field. This is just for training and informal games. We use the village football field for our under-11 matches. At the far end of the car park is our recycling centre. This is for things like paper, glass and so on, and everyone is very welcome to make use of it. Immediately behind the school to the north, we have the play area. Unfortunately, we had to remove the play equipment, the climbing frame and so on, because it didn't conform to safety regulations. But we do have the treehouse in the middle of that area. That's very popular. Then, at the top end of the play area, you'll find the entrance to the secret garden. The vegetable patch is in the bottom corner, and beyond it, hidden in the trees, we have a pond. The children love this because it attracts all sorts of wildlife, frogs, fish, and lots of birds. I should just mention the trees. There are over 30 different species, all planted by the children. In the middle of the garden, we have what we call the storyteller's chair, and this is where the children come with their teachers and sit on the grass to listen to stories. And finally, at the top end of the secret garden, to the left, is our wind turbine. And as you go round the classrooms, you'll find lots of work done by the children explaining all about how it works and how proud they are of it. Right, now, before we go...
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers. Section 3. You are going to listen to a conversation between two students about preparing a questionnaire as part of an essay assignment. First, look at questions 21 to 24. As you listen, Answer the questions.
21 to 24.
I've never written an essay of more than 1,500 words before, Anne.
Me neither, Mark, and it scares me.
I wouldn't worry. We'll just have to pretend it's 4 essays of 1,500 words and join them together.
It says here in the assignment notes Dr. Brightwell gave us that we're to write between 5,000 and 6,000 words on some aspect of students' attitudes, backed up by our own research, which we present in the form of tables, graphs, charts or whatever, and supported by reference to the list of books she gave us. Oh, I didn't realise there had been so many social science books written about students.
Oh, yeah, there are a lot. And the questionnaire?
Yes, we have to prepare a questionnaire to gather our own data for the graphs, etc., and hand it in to Dr. Brightwell in draft form in 2 weeks' time.
2 weeks?
That's what she said, and what it says here. She says that it's better to have it checked before we go on to collect the information and start the writing.
Suppose she's right. We'd better get started then. But she didn't say how we were going to put the questionnaire together. Does it say anything in the notes?
Nope. It only says that we are limited to 4 sides of A4 and no more than 50 questions.
If that's the case, it's not that bad.
Before the conversation continues, look at questions 25 to 30. For questions 25 to 30, match the points mentioned in the table to the speaker. Circle M for Mark or A for Anne.
So, how are we going to do it?
Well, first we need to know who we're aiming it at. Then decide how many questions we're going to ask. I think we could have about 40 questions maximum. I don't think there's any real need to go up to the 50 limit. And I think we should keep the questions themselves very simple.
Don't worry. In my case, they will be.
We could have a mixture of question types like multiple choice questions. Yes, no, and agree, disagree, with boxes for people to tick. If people are asked to write down anything, it's unlikely they will fill it in.
So, are we going to give this questionnaire out to people to hand in, or are we going to just stop and ask them around the campus or on the street?
I don't really know. Did she say anything about this? No, she didn't. And there is nothing in these notes she gave us either.
I think we ought to give them out.
OK.
Anyway, it won't affect the way we design the questionnaire.
We're both doing it on different subjects, but there's nothing wrong with pooling our ideas about the mechanism of the questionnaire.
No, none. What are you doing your project on?
I've been thinking about doing something around the subject of how aware students are of world affairs. People think that we're all up to date, but I very much doubt it. It would also be interesting to compare students in different years. And you?
I'm doing something on health and sport, and whether students are more or less active since they came to university.
Oh, sounds interesting. As the questionnaires can be anonymous, I'll fill in your first questionnaire for you. But I'm sure you won't be surprised by my answers.
Somehow, I don't think so.
I suggest we put together about 20 or 25 questions each, and then meet tomorrow or the day after and compare them.
Are you going to type yours up?
Yeah, then I can come round to your place and we can work on them. You've got a laptop, haven't you?
Yes, and I've got some new design software, so we can play around with the layout.
Brilliant. Are you any good at doing charts and things?
I know how to do simple things on the computer, but we'll sort something out.
OK.
I feel much better about all this now. It doesn't seem quite as bad as I first thought.
No, don't worry, we'll get it done.
That's the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to Part 4.
Part 4.
You're going to hear a conversation.
First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Afternoon, everyone. Well, I think we can begin straight away by getting Ivy and Andy to do their presentation. Could you start, Ivy?
Yes. Well, we've done a survey on local entertainment. Basically, we tried to find out how students feel about the entertainment in the city and how much they use it.
Yes, so we've called our project Out and About. Yes, that's a good title, Out and About.
We wanted to find out how well students use the entertainment facilities in the city, whether they get to see the latest plays and films, that kind of thing.
Now, we have our own facilities on campus, of course.
Yes, we deliberately omitted those as we really wanted to examine outside entertainment in the city, as opposed to on the university campus.
Actually, there are a lot of areas to choose from, but in the end we limited ourselves to looking at 3 general categories: cinema, theatre and music. Right?
OK, well, first of all, cinema. In the city, there are 3 main places where you can see films. There's the new multi-screen cinema complex, the old Park Cinema, and the late-night Odeon.
So if you look at this chart, in terms of audience size, the multi-screen complex accounts for 75% of all cinema seats. The Park Cinema accounts for 20% of seats, and the late-night Odeon has just 5% of seats.
As you probably know, the complex and the park show all the latest films, while the late-night cinema tends to show cult films. So when we interviewed the students, we thought the complex would be the most popular choice. But surprisingly, it was the late-night Odeon.
Yeah, most students told us that if they wanted to see a new film, they would wait for it to show at the park. The complex is more expensive and further out of the city, so you have to pay more to get there as well. Yes, and that adds to the cost, of course, and detracts the popularity, evidently.
Well, next, we looked at theatres. The results here were interesting because, as you know, there's a theatre on campus, which is popular. But there's also the Stage Theatre in the city, which is very old and architecturally beautiful. And there's the large modern theatre, the Ashtop, which has recently been built.
So you just looked at the 2 theatres in the city? Yes, but the thing about the theatres is that there's a variety of seat prices. Also, the types of performance vary, so students tend to buy seats at both and like using both for different prices, and if they want cheap seats at the Ashtop, they can just sit further from the front.
What we did find that was very interesting is that there are periods during the year where students seem to go to the theatre and periods where they go to the cinema. And we really think that that's something to do with budget. If you look at this graph, you can see that there's a peak around November, December when they go to the theatre more, and then a period in April, May when neither is particularly popular. And then theatre viewing seems to fall off virtually, while the cinema becomes quite popular in June, July.
I think you're probably right about your conclusions. Well, Lastly, we looked at music. And this time we were really investigating the sort of small music clubs that offer things like folk or specialise in local bands. So not musicals as much. That's right.
We looked at 3 small music venues and we examined the quality of the entertainment and venue and gave a ranking for these. A cross, meaning that the quality was poor, a tick, meaning it was okay, and 2 ticks for excellent. First of all, the Blues Club, which obviously specialises in blues music. This was a pretty small place, and the seating was minimal, so we didn't give that a very good rating.
No, we don't recommend that one really.
Then the Sansu, which plays a lot of South American music. It was a big place. Very lively, good performers, so 2 ticks for that one. The Pier Hotel is a folk venue. A good place for local and up-and-coming folk artists to play. Not the best of venues, as it's in a basement and a bit dark, but the quality, if the entertainment, was reasonable and the lighting was as warm as we felt. It deserved an average rating. Finally, there's the Bulldrock Cafe, which features big rock bands and is pretty popular with students, and we enjoyed ourselves there as well, so total marks for that one.
And then, did you get any information from the students as to which of the clubs they preferred?
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.